And then the sumo squat. Then up. Okay, now let's try just a bit on the wall, just leaning forwards and pacing. You can work as hard or as soft as you like with this, with everything really that we do. Your feet are trying to push the ground backwards. Your hands are trying to push the wall forwards. They're just up. And now quite close to the wall, just placing your hands on the wall, and as though you're leaning, but you're not. So you could take your hands away and not fall, but it's like you're leaning. So when you take your hands away from the wall, your balance is a little bit compromised because it's as though you're going to fall forwards. So we're just trying to find the precipice where the balance is really delicate. You just feel that real sort of openness you have to have towards the wall, towards falling forwards positively in order to maintain that balance at the edge. If you come off the heels a little bit, then it helps get the tremble, the shake of equilibrium. And then let's come to riding horse. So when we're standing in one of these postures like riding horse, we want that same sort of feeling, like I'm sinking down, I'm pushing up. So I'm maintaining that delicate balance between the up and the down. I just imagine someone came up and pressed very gently on the top of your head, that would be enough to start you going down into your legs. And then when they release their hand, you would just naturally come up like a delicate spring. Feel the foot. If we want that sort of delicate hair trigger sensitivity, we need to be mainly in the front of the foot. So it's almost like I'm falling into the front of the foot and the heel is beginning to peel off the ground. So I have to be very aware of all of my toes, especially the big toe and that pad behind the little toe. My big toe presses down, and that allows the little toe to extend outwards. The feeling that my big toes are curling towards each other, and my little toes are extending outwards away from each other. And then feel the heels. Not simply a point of stability and this sense of driving down vertically. We want them a little bit more active. There's a sense that they're trying to swing out like this. So both my heels are trying to swing out, but also my little toes from the front of the foot. So that's the balance, really. And really, the point of rooting is actually the big toe. That big toe pressing into the ground is like the fulcrum about which my heels can swing out and my little toes can swing out. If I want life and activity in my heels, what I want is for them to be able to sort of reach back and scoot into the ground like this, like the back talon of the eagle that wraps around the branch underneath like this. So my heels are cutting into the ground like that. Just feel the mobility you need in the lower back, the sacrum and the tail. It's basically my tail has to do the same thing. It has to be able to hook backwards and then reach underneath and gather underneath the ground. There's a sense that your tail, energetically, it's a little bit like the plowshare that's digging, furrowing the ground when you're walking. Sense that your tail is cutting down, pulling the stones up and out of the way. This has to be really open. The legs have to be strong to give the tail this freedom. But the legs also have to be really springy and bouncy, because if they get stiff, then it will stiffen this area as well. Keep the big toes pressed down, but the little toes wanting to extend outwards. It's like the yin and the yang. They're so different from each other. Now let's breathe, but with that same feeling of the back and the front working together. So my back muscles tighten, that stretches my belly muscles, and then they can't stretch anymore, so they have to spring back. And that stretches the back muscles, and then they have to spring back. when a muscle kicks in, starts working, it's because the muscle the other side has stretched it like a piece of elastic and then just releases and the elastic pulls back. And then back. Feel that throb from the ground. The legs have to be soft enough to allow that. And now using the same action, so extending and contracting, let's just start off with this exercise that we did, sitting down, extending forwards, and then it has to return. Begin to get it happening in the leg as well. My leg is straightening and the toes are extending, and then they have to spring back. And then using it more to just move side to side. So now your hand is very much with the leg. Full and empty. The bending leg is filling, the straightening leg is emptying. Feel the natural turn. The straightening leg will tend to turn you away from its foot, and the bending leg will pull you towards it. So in other words, turn you towards it. And then getting it simply to turn. So trying to keep the spine in the middle. Just feel what you need to do to stop the spine from moving to the side. This leg, which has been pulling, has to instantly start pushing. Otherwise, my spine will move too much this way. Feel the centrifugal and the centripetal. So when this leg is straightening, it's turning me and throwing my arms out. But then when this leg starts straightening here, that's when the arms, which can't fly out, they can't release, they actually start coming in order to wrap around you. So that's the point of, it's not really a centripetal, but this sense of something wrapping around you and tightening. So it's this bit here where the arms just squeeze, almost like you're giving yourself a bear hug on the twist. Pulling and pushing. Good. Make sure the feet are right. So the big toes angling in slightly, little toes angling out. Feel the heel. It's like the rim of the heel, like the outside edge of the heel, the back and the outside edge. Now let's try the two circles. trying to get a release from the sacroiliac. So here I'm really sinking and trying to get something to squeeze out of this joint, which my hand then collects and brings around. And then the same thing for the wings, the shoulder wings. Feeling something coming out of the shoulder blade or from the spine just beneath the shoulder blades and catching it to bring it around. Just imagine something in front of you that you're enshrouding, enveloping, concealing. With this energy that's coming from your shoulders, your back. And try and get the intent involved. The intent is really what that part of your mind that makes imagination reality. that turns this image that you see of wings coming around an actuality. So something in you has to tighten up to make it happen. That's the intent. It's an aspect of spirit. Back to riding horse. Feel the feet. Big toes coming in a little, little toes out. Relaxing into the legs. They should feel spongy, like a sort of springy sponginess. And the heels as well, like the pad of the heel has a spring in it. The big toe is really the only thing that's properly sort of pressing down. The rest almost feels like it's beginning to float up. And now let's try the same thing, but with the tentacles that come out the back of the head. So here I'm just pulling something round from here and looping it around. You can imagine an object, or imagine the computer screen. So I'm looking or feeling with that eye tentacle from the back of the head. Good. And now let's try that Qigong circuit, the precipitation one where it's raining down on top of you. Imagine there's a little cloud above your head. So it's raining down over the body. And then this is the tricky bit, splitting at the sacrum, getting the weight to go down each leg. And then it evaporates out of the ground, comes back up, forms a cloud, and drenches you. And again, you can just work within your limits. The idea all the time in these exercises is to repeat them with a quietening mind. If you can do that, then you will internalize the exercise. It will start working on your energy rather than just your body. A sense that it's drawing into you, so as you're coming down now, the rain is actually inside your body, trickling, flowing down. If you can't quieten the mind, then it will just remain an external exercise. And then reversing it. So from your roots, you gather something from the ground, bring it up the spine, out of the arms, reaching up and then cascading down all around you. This one is more realistic in a way. So the down is just gravity. And then the up, which is coming up you, is the energy from the ground, stimulated to come up by your ability to release to gravity, to let gravity into you. So this is the rain, like your flesh pulling down heavily. And then this is the ground coming up your skeleton. Sense that your flesh is melting down you like candle wax. Yet your skeleton remains firm. And then one more. Up. And then just let the branches reach out into ward off. Now just feel the circles, the circle of the arms. My hands are trying to move towards each other as though I've embraced a big person. My elbows have to be out to give them space. My hands trying to drift towards each other, but out as well, hollows my chest and pulls my shoulders apart. And then exactly the same thing in the legs. sense that my lower leg and my feet are going into the ground and trying to move towards each other deep down. My knees are out, equivalent to the elbows being out, and that is drawing energy up the insteps, up the inside of the legs, into these points in the groin, and then up to the dantian. So this has to remain open, which is difficult. An openness is very similar to the feeling we had on the wall of almost falling into the wall. If it's properly open, then you're almost falling down, but not quite. It's what I call the point of failure. That's where the energy manifests. When everything is safe and sound, you just have force. You don't need forces. You don't have energy. Energy requires a possibility of failure. In other words, risk. So when people try to live risk-free lives nowadays, basically they're just living lives without energy. And then the same with the head. You want to feel your eyes softening in order to get behind the object you're encountering and drawing it in. So in the same way, we've got these wide shoulders with a hollow here, these wide hips with a hollow here. And the same with the head, a wide head, eyes far apart. You know, like the Chinese, a lot of them have these sort of moon faces, really wide, receptive faces. It's the thing they say about Westerners, the Chinese, is say we've got big noses, our eyes are too close together, and we stink of vomit. We stink of baby sick because we have so much dairy in our diets, and they don't touch dairy. They just smell of pork fat and Szechuan pepper. So softening the gaze. So you're becoming coy and shy, and that's drawing the world in seductively. It's like babies, you know, sometimes you catch a baby's eye and suddenly it realizes and it's going all sort of shy, but it's loving it at the same time. Heels out. That's very much related to the relaxed sacroiliacs. Without that, the tail can't hang freely and can't come alive. And now let's try a bit of backwards and forwards, just feeling that stretch of the leg that forces it to return, stretching the elastic in order to force it to pull back. Leg stretches, toes stretch, so you can bring the toes off the ground. And then basically to get it to start pulling, you just pull your toes onto the ground and lift your heel. So pull. So you basically just break all the joints in the leg and the foot. All the toes bend, the leg bends. Particularly the little toe and the little finger. Feel the importance of those. The delicacy of spirit is expressed in the little finger and the little toe. If you can keep your mind with it and keep it really active, then you'll get this sense of drawing into a core. That's what we want. That's the correct tension. What we call the centripetal is just the correct tension that's drawing into a center, seeking the center. And then the other foot forwards. And now let's do waving hands in the clouds, basically, but thinking of the figure of 8 in the hips, looping around. Trying to keep the spine in the middle. So you're not moving side to side too much, you're just turning. Feel the intent again. Something in me has to get fierce to open up this loop of the figure of 8. And then I gather in to close it, and then something has to get fierce again. So I'm not simply tracing a line. My spirit is really working, breathing, fierce spirit, drawing in receptive spirit, fierce spirit, drawing in. Now let's move the feet up a bit. Now just feel the figure of eights inside each foot. And then allow it to become the figure of eight exercise, but keep the figures of eights in the feet. Now just moving from leg to leg and bringing the foot up. So remember, I bend this leg to draw myself across. This leg empties, in other words, straightens to push me down, and then I can bring this foot up. Extending the toes and then bending them once the foot's on the ground, pulling, straightening this leg, and then just drag the foot along the ground, up your other leg until you get to the knee. Pull, push, and then it's like the leg shrinks, like the tentacle coming in of the octopus. Gathering the leg in, and then I send it out again. Make sure that big toe is pressing down. Pull, straighten, and then I just gather my leg up. Pull. And remember to feel as though you can wrap your toes under. A student of mine that lives on the kibbutz, he can bend his toes so much he can actually touch the sole of his foot with the tip of his big toe. It's a real feeling that the toes curl right under here. If you have children, make sure they spend most of their time without shoes on. Otherwise, the feet get crippled. Back to riding horse one last time. Feel the feet. Toes spreading. Heel sort of releasing outwards. And a sense that all of your joints are aerated. Should feel very soft and fluid. So we're relying more on the fascial skeleton, the soft skeleton, than that hard skeleton. That's the wrong sort of stillness. So the stillness of a solid object is not what we want. Our stillness is, it's like full of potential. It could go in any direction, could explode at any moment. So I'm sinking. The earth feels like it's extruding up and filling me out. If you're properly sinking into the ground, into a root, then you cannot think. You either think or you sink. You can't do both. And then let's bring it up. So the feet the same. So the big toes pretty much touching and the toes so splayed that your little toe is trying to venture out to the side. A bit of distance between your heels. Really stretching up to stimulate the muscle that pulls it back down. Like stretching a piece of elastic and letting it ping back. We're wanting our exercises to generate energy as well as use energy. So we're transforming one type of energy into another. Chinese are very big into alchemy. And then back to prayer. Now hands out. One hand over, and then just turning the head as you turn the hands. And again, quite quickly, it takes on a life of its own. That's the feeling. And it's taking you somewhere you know not where. So we start something familiar in order to be taken somewhere unfamiliar. And the hands up again. And now rubbing the hands. And the hands on the belly. Gathering into the dantian. And now just pulling into the dantian and then pushing out. So basically our breathing exercise But we want to feel the belly muscles and the back muscles tied together. So as I reach the extreme of one side tensing, that stretches the other side and causes that to kick in. So I pull my belly in tightly, feel the back muscles stretching, and then they kick in, pull, stretching the belly muscles. Wanting my muscle pairs to work together like an organic alternating machine. And then the hands on the belly again. And now we want to work side bends, but the same idea. So I use these muscles here to pull myself over. Feel the stretch in this side. And then this side kicks in when it can't stretch anymore. You need this ability to really stretch one side by really contracting the other side. And, rub the hands again. Feel those muscles in the belly. Every time you do something, they get involved, if not initiate it. And then palming. Opening the eyes should reveal no light. Then the hands together, up and out, pointing the index and the middle finger, then alternating. Hands up again. Okay, so we'll just repeat that, but now the whole thing with the eyes closed. So the eyes are already closed. Trying to become aware of the proprioception, the feeling we have for our own body and its parts, irrespective of what we see. So we need to block the vision out of the equation. Feel the body and its working. And then palming, keeping the eyes closed. And keeping the eyes closed, send the hands up, pointing the fingers and out to the side. And now one hand in and then the other hand in. Again, keeping the eyes closed. So sort of building a mental image from what we can feel rather than what we can see. I feel my body tracing these shapes. I can hear sounds. I've got one window to my left and another window to my right, and there's different sounds coming from each. So all these sensations are contributing to an environment that is much richer and more interesting than what the eyes tell us it is. And bringing the hands up again and down. And just keep the eyes closed, but rub the hands again and we'll do the heart. And hands on the heart. And now circling the head. as though you're scanning the room with your ears. Then the other way. And then let's try a little bit with the arms behind. Just to really straighten the spine and push the thymus upwards. And then let's finish with a bit of the butterfly.